We are live. This is the NBA Rundown, taking a break from breaking down the NFL draft as that has taken over the consciousness of the sports world. It feels like, Jayme, but there's still money to be made on the hard courts. Welcome back to the show. You traveled to Los Angeles. You watched your team get a win. Before we give out the winners for tonight, talk to me about that experience down in Los Angeles and how fun was it for you to finally see your team win?
Oh man, it was awesome, man. There's no better place than LA when it comes to basketball, in my opinion. Like you go outside the arena and you got statues of everybody. I mean, it is just it's an awesome place to be. And it was cool to finally get to see him win a game. Even though the game really wasn't all that close for the majority of it, anytime the lead got cut down to like 12 and then 11 and then at one point 9, I still felt super uneasy about it all. But luckily it was a smooth game. It was a game you would have liked because it was like a 1980s game, right? Like it was scored
Yeah.
94 to 85, so it was some defensive game or poor offense, whichever way you want to look at it. But it was a cool game to go to, man. It was a good experience.
All right. Well, I'm glad you had a good time there. I'm disappointed that your team won, but not only are we going to look ahead to tonight, but we're going to preview the games this weekend as well. Although, actually, no, your team is tonight. So we'll
Yeah.
talk about that a little more. But let's go in order. Okay. We talked about the game you went to, and I understand
Hmm.
everyone was watching the NFL draft last night, but probably most of you guys are like me and you have two TVs. So I had the Pistons and the Knicks on in the background. I want to congratulate you. I was on the show yesterday, and boy, I mean, it's going to be tough to get these guys to listen to me today, Jayme, because I feel like everything I said about that game was wrong. The role players didn't show up at home. I got one thing right. Detroit was rocking.
Hmm.
All right,
Yeah,
I'll pat
100%.
myself on the back for that one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Thibodeau made the right adjustments. Thibodeau outcoached Bickerstaff, and I said that wasn't going to happen.
Yep.
Towns had a huge game. I thought he was going to continue to shrink.
Hmm.
Beasley was terrible. Who was the other guy? Tobias Harris was terrible. Hardaway Jr. started off great, but he fell off. Too much Cade.
Hmm.
And I like Cade a lot, but he's got to get these other guys involved just from I felt like
Yeah.
such an old man. I remember Hoosiers, right? Everyone's got to touch the ball 4 passes before you're allowed to shoot.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand you can't do that, but you got too many possessions where the other guys don't get involved. And I thought they looked lethargic on the defensive end where I really got that game wrong. Detroit didn't bring it on defense, and they were way too complacent, just allowing the matchups that New York wanted. Harris can't cover Towns. I don't even understand what they were doing there. Duran can cover Towns, but they don't want to do that because then Brunson and the other guys get to the rim too easily. Feels like Thibodeau found some things out there. What did you see there? Because that was a tough one for me as I'm watching, and I'm thinking back to the NBA rundown I did by myself yesterday, and I'm thinking, boy, I think other than Detroit being rocking, I got all the analysis wrong on that game. You had it right. What did you see in that game?
Well, I didn't have it 2 right. I said Knicks by 20. I really meant Knicks by 2.
Yeah.
The Knicks, it got close. It got closer than I thought it
To
should
be
have been,
fair,
to be
I
honest.
didn't think
Like,
it was that close, though. Like, as someone who backed the Pistons, I never really felt like I had a chance. I
no,
just
I
felt
mean,
like I
I
was on the
had a
wrong side.
chance to, yeah, yeah. I mean, I had a chance to not cover there at the end, which is getting a little dicey when he hit that big 3. And luckily, I got the
Yeah.
foul with
Mhm.
Brunson to go in there and be able to get a free throw with like what half a second left to cover. But yeah, I just think the Knicks at this point they're just a better overall team. As far as coaching goes, I think they're probably equal. I think Tibbs is a good coach. But I kind of agreed with your assessment yesterday that I think his time is about done. I don't think his style of coaching is conducive to like winning an NBA championship. And I think that the ceiling of this team is pretty much going to be maxed out after the next round. But I think the Pistons, and you're right about Cade Cunningham. I'm big on that too. I think Cade Cunningham is at his best when he's not being a primary scorer, right? When he's getting other guys involved, and other guys have to make shots too. Um, but I'm with you about moving the ball around. I'm very I thought Cat had a big game after the game before where I don't think he even had a point in the fourth quarter. I'm not even sure he shot the ball in the fourth quarter, to be honest, in game two. So he had a massive game, this one, which was huge. Brunson, he kind of struggled for, I don't know, the first three quarters, at least efficiency wise. Came together fourth quarter, like he's clutch player of the year. Great players. So that Jalen Brunson series bet of most points is, it's, I don't want to say it's locked up, but if I feel pretty confident about that one hitting at this point. So
Oh man. All right, guys watching the video, let me know in the chat. Is that my internet or Jamie's internet that's breaking out on us? Jayme, that might be you. I'm gonna dump you. Hopefully it's not me. Usually it shows me that I'm dumping out. I'm gonna try and bring him back soon. Let me try this. Okay. He'll jump back in. I'll start my thoughts on the next game. All right, let's try this again. I think usually it's my Starlink that's cutting out. Today it might be yours.
It might be mine. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know. I can restart if needed.
But we got most of that, and we're going to be quick on the other two games, Memphis and Oklahoma City. I mean, what is there to talk about? Don't fire your coach with 2 weeks ago. That's the end of my breakdown. I mean, I don't care about betting that game tomorrow. 15. The line is 15. Unbelievable. Any thoughts on Memphis and Oklahoma City? All right. It sounds like I lost you again. All right. I'm going to continue to break these down on my own. The third game last night was the Los Angeles Clippers taking on the Denver Nuggets. So I didn't bet that game, but I got it wrong. So hey, hopefully I bounced back the way the Clippers did. I thought Denver would keep that close. And boy, I should have gone with my original instinct and just taking the Clippers. That was an easy win. And now we start to think about that series and you say, okay, wait a second. Denver's got an excellent home court advantage. And they squeaked out one win and the games were as close as possible. Now we're in Los Angeles and they're not even close. I don't know, man. I think the Clippers have a good chance to go up 3-1. And then regardless of whether or not they get that game 5 in Denver, I think the Clippers could finish this off. We're just seeing Denver's lack of depth being exposed. And I felt that Jokic was really fatigued there after the first quarter. And that's why that game wasn't very fun. Man, I hope we get Jayme back soon. Did he message me on Twitter or anything? No. Well, hopefully he gets back up, man, because chat, help me out here. I want to talk to you guys about these games. The Orlando Magic are down to only +3.5. I just did the wagering world. If you guys follow me on Twitter, that'll be out a little later. We pre-record that show. But it was 4.5 when we discussed that game earlier. So I wonder if the Celtics are simply punting on this game. Let me refresh RotoWire here. Did Tatum get ruled out for sure? No, but Holiday got downgraded. Yeah, I wonder if the Celtics are simply going to punt on this game. The way I was looking at this game was the Magic first half. I figured that's a little safer here. And let's see what the first half number switched to. Oh, it's about the same. All right, Jayme, let's try this again.
Right. Sorry about that.
It's all good. I talked about this game for a bit. I'm thinking about going Magic first half here. What do you think about the Celtics and the Magic? Magic played the two good first halves in Boston. Yeah. I think we're going to get it here again tonight. I'm going to take the first half. What do you think?
That's awesome because I'm actually on that play as well. So teams that coming home in game 3 down 0-2 since 2006 in the first half of 91 and 48, 66% hit rate against the spread. So I worry about them closing late, so I'm not going to be too interested in backing them for the full game. But I love them in the first half here, so I'm going
Mhm.
to be rolling with you. There's obviously injury concerns with Boston. I wouldn't be completely shocked if Orlando did end up pulling this one out, but I don't really have too much interest in backing them for a full game here. I think it's a little too sweaty late in the fourth with this squad in Boston. Man, Jaylen Brown played really well last game. I think he's going to continue to do that. So I'm with you. I like the Orlando plus 1.5. Are you taking the spread, or are you just taking the money line first half?
I'm down to plus point, plus half. So I was
Oh,
just
it's,
going to take that.
yeah, might as well then. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're both on the Magic first half, and whatever happens is a full game. I've been wrong twice so far about the Milwaukee Bucks. I've taken them with the points in both games against the Pacers. At least in the second one, they had a chance to cover. But this has not been a good. Oh, hold on. Let me read Jeff's comment real quick. For those who like props, Jeff is on Al Horford double double. This bet is so easy. It's like watching Fonzie elbow an ATM machine and watching all the cash fall out. All right, Jeff. I hope you're right, or that comment might be like Fonzie being on water skis, jumping over a shark. No, glad to have you in here today, Jeff. Good to see you. So, do I just go with the tried and true system again? Or is Milwaukee just cooked, man? Because I almost wish I didn't watch the first two games. I think it'd be a lot easier to place this bet. To me, it's
Mhm.
Bucks or pass. I mean, it's fine. If you want to jump on Pacers, that's fine. That's not the way I'm looking in this game. I'm looking to ride the historical trends. The role players play better at home, blah, 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 down 0-2, blah, 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 blah. But what do you think, man? I don't know if Damian Lillard should even be out there.
Yeah. I'm with you. I do lean Milwaukee on the side here. I'm probably not going to touch either side, but I do like the over 230. That's what I
Mhm.
got in. Looks like it's 230.5 now. I still think that is fine. So this is win over 230 in 4 of the 6 games they played this year. The average total is 234. Like there's one game that's 229. Indianapolis, if they scored averaged 120 points in these last 2 games, I think they're going to score. I do think that Milwaukee does get a boost offensively with Dame, even if it's not with Dame being contributing on the offensive end by scoring. I still think he's going to help everyone else get shots off and get better looks. And I think we saw that in the last game. So I expect this to be another high scoring game like we've kind of seen with these two teams all year. So that's where I'm leaning in. But I'm with you as far as it's got to be Milwaukee side or pass. Dame looks pretty rough. I'm hoping he kind of bounces back a little bit and looks a little bit more like the Dame that we're accustomed to seeing. So it's going to be a pass for me on the side. Do like the over 230 though.
All right, Jamie's on the over. All right, let's keep it moving here. Your favorite team now heads to Minnesota. What do you think about this game tonight? I have no idea what to make of this series, and I know it's because I'm emotionally involved.
Right.
I just want the Wolves to win. Yeah, I want the Wolves to win. Matchup wise, I told you before the series, I did not think it was a good matchup. The Wolves come out, they shoot the lights out in game one. Then they regress and they shoot even worse than average. My point is, I think if they shoot average tonight from three, they got a good chance to win and cover this 3-point spread. I mean, the Lakers have been pretty bad on the road this year, which is why I thought it was so important for them to finish in the top four, for this first round matchup. How are you approaching tonight's game? And do you think we should throw those road stats out the window because this is playoff basketball and it's a little different? Or do you think some of the Lakers' road woes will once again rear their ugly heads?
Oh, I don't think it's fair to just completely throw them out. I think it is what it is at this point with the large enough sample size. But my lean is the Lakers. I'm obviously emotionally involved too, and so I'm not actually going to touch the side here. I would lean with the Lakers, but there are two props that I like. I do like Ant over 31.5 points plus assists, and I like Braun over 31.5 points plus rebounds. Um, as far as this series goes, I've heard a lot of people talk about how the Lakers scored 95 of the 94 points in their first 2 games, and a lot of people think that that is actually a positive for the Timberwolves. I look at it differently. I think of it as the Timberwolves held this team to 95 and 94 points twice, and they aren't 2-0, which is an issue, right? They are 1-1. The Lakers had a poor game. They shot 20% from three, and they still won the game, which I think is an issue for Minnesota because we have a large enough sample size of this Lakers offense with the 2+ months with everyone being healthy that this offense is much better than what they have shown. And maybe Minnesota is just too good of a defense and maybe they're going to cause issues for this Lakers team. But this Lakers team with Luka and LeBron on the court average 117 points per game. I don't anticipate them continuing to score 95 and 94 points in these games. Like if you look at some of the averages here, LeBron has shot 37% from three this season. He shot 21% or 20% on this series. Reeves 38% from three, shot 21%. Rui 41% from three this year, 33% in these two games. Finney Smith 41% from three, 33% in this series. At some point, these guys are going to start making shots. And when they do, I think that's going to be an issue for this Minnesota team. You said it in first. Minnesota had a career, or not a career high, a season high in their 3-point shooting percentage and threes made against the Lakers in game one. And then they regressed pretty heavily in game two. I think we're still due for a Lakers big shooting night. I just don't anticipate, right? Like when this trade happened, I think we all kind of agreed that the Lakers were likely going to be a top 5 offense in the league, but they potentially could have been a top 5 or a bottom 5 defense in the league. So I just don't see how when we have a 2+ month sample size of this team playing a certain way offensively for them all of a sudden to be a team that can't crack 100 points. I think eventually these guys are going to make shots. Reeves has not played well. Rui has not really shot the ball well, especially from three. Finney Smith and Gabe, we haven't seen either one of those guys, I think, eclipse 7 or 8 points yet. Eventually, these guys are going to make shots. And Luke has been doing what Luke has been doing. I'm going to assume that he's going to continue to play that way. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't look at tonight as like a must win or anything. I do believe that the Lakers just need to win one at home or one on the road here to get this back to home court advantage. So even if they split here, I think that's going to be okay. My lean is with them tonight. I wouldn't be completely shocked if Minnesota beats them. Minnesota's a good team. I think all these teams we talked about at the beginning of these shows when we did it right before the season or playoffs started, all these teams are good in the West, right? Outside of 1 versus 8, I don't think anyone would be shocked of any outcome. So I would not be shocked whatsoever if Minnesota came out, they got hot and they beat the Lakers. But I do think we're going to see this Lakers offense have a big night here sooner rather than later. And I kind of believe that it's going to be tonight. I think LeBron's going to start playing better. LeBron's effort on the defensive side of the ball last game was really impressive. Like he understands that with this team, he does not need to be the offensive engine. It has to be Luka, and I think Reeves has to do a better job. Reeves has to be getting to 20 points, right? He's got to be more efficient from the three. He went 0 for 6 from three last game. Reeves has got to get it going and let LeBron kind of pick and choose his spots. I think LeBron averages the most points per game in the fourth quarter since this trade happened. So he's going to be the closer of this team. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. I think I would lean with the Lakers. I'm not touching it, but I do like those two props. I feel pretty confident that the Lakers will win at least one of these two games in Minnesota, whether that's tonight or if it's going to be on Sunday. I'm not sure, but I would lean with the Lakers.
All right, so you are leaning the Lakers. I'm rooting for the Timberwolves. And if I were to bet the Timberwolves, my main argument would just be how poor the Lakers have been on the road so far this year.
That's fair. Yeah. I definitely think that's fair. I just
don't know if it's just flawed data because they didn't care about road trips this year, and now they're going to care about every game. Do you see what I'm saying?
I definitely get you. I mean, I look at it like this though. I would also like to look, and I have not done this, what this team on the road looked like with Luka and LeBron on the team. I think that's probably a better indicator of just overall road splits, since half of those have been obviously with AD as well. But I do know like this team went into Oklahoma City and they blew them out. And then on the second night when they were in Oklahoma City, they were up 108 to 107 with 7 minutes left before Luka got kicked out of the game. Right. So I'm not like, well, they can't win on the road. I think they can win on the road. I think they just got to play better offensively. Their effort defensively has been good. And the issue with this team, we saw in game one, I think they had a 20% organized offense rate, which is like the lowest all season. This team definitely gets into moments where they play a lot of isolation basketball, which if you think it makes sense with guys like Luka and LeBron, right? Really good players that get a matchup that they like and they kind of dribble, 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 shoot, right? And I'm kind of with you. I want to see some more set plays, some more actions. I personally would like to see more two-man actions with Reeves and LeBron. I would love for Reeves to have the ball, LeBron come and set a screen, and next thing you know, you're getting a mismatch of LeBron on Conley. Because I think an issue with this team is they kind of tried to attack the bigs too much, right? Where they would get LeBron on Nas Reed or even Luka on Gobert, which hasn't worked as much as people think it does. Gobert has actually held his own there from a field goal percentage wise. If you look at like fouls and free throw attempts, it does change that a little bit. But I do think that this team would work better if you got LeBron on a mismatch of Conley, right? Rather than LeBron a mismatch on Nas Reed. I do think LeBron's explosiveness has diminished a little bit, especially post injury. So I would like to see more things like that. And they did have a big increase of that in game two. They kind of at times, went into a little bit of a lull where they stopped doing that. But almost every single time after a timeout or coming in from half or at the end of a quarter, they are constantly running plays off the rip, which I think is good. JJ has said publicly that this team needs to be more organized from that standpoint. So I'm optimistic about all of that. Minnesota's a good team. It's not like I don't think the Lakers are, that much better of a team than Minnesota. Minnesota's a good team, and they have really good players on that team, and they're well coached. So I wouldn't be shocked if they won.
All right. Yeah, I think it's a tough one. I lean towards the Timberwolves, but I'm worried that my Lakers hatred is clouding my usually perfectly objective vision when it comes to betting the National Basketball Association. Timberwolves are out to 3.5, so little love, little support for them in the market here today. Some interesting games here tonight. All right, let's move ahead to tomorrow. Cavaliers and Heat. Heat are out to 6.5. I'm not really too interested in this game. Heat or pass. I'm fine passing. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm probably not going to play. A part of me wants to take Heat, just kind of betting on Spo, just to get a win, right? It would literally just be a bet on Spo here. The Cavs are just a much better team than, so I don't feel great about it. But if I did, I would probably just honestly take Heat money line and hope that they can get a win here at home.
All right. So you like Miami there. I don't like it that much. Another series I don't really care about at all is the Thunder and the Grizzlies. It's out to 15. Well done. I mean, I have no interest in this game at all. Am I missing something by not playing it?
No, I have no interest either. I mean, I know I missed the segment earlier, but that was blowing a 29-point lead, it feels like you're just dead now, right? I think these guys realize they're cooked, man. I think they're going to be focusing here on the off season. I think it ends here in 4, and I wouldn't be surprised if OKC blows them out. I haven't seen an update on Ja. I don't know if you have or if you mentioned that at all. But if Ja was out this year, is he for sure out? Yeah. I say it looked pretty rough, and that team went downhill pretty quick when he went out. Yeah, they're toast, man. I wouldn't be surprised if OKC won by 20, 25 here.
All right. Yeah, OKC or pass. I'm fine passing, but if you need some action, just keep betting the Thunder. Okay, now we have some games that are actually worth talking about. I think the Clippers might be worth the bet at 6. We talked about Memphis running out of gas. I wouldn't be surprised if Denver ran out of gas either. And I also talked about the Los Angeles Lakers not being very good on the road. Now, I know Denver was pretty good on the road this year, but historically, this has not been a good road team. Then we looked. Historically, the Clippers haven't been a good home team because nobody cares about them in Los Angeles. But now they have their own arena with their own dedicated fans. I follow a couple Clippers fans online. One of them, Jacob the Clipper, I follow because he loves defending my era of basketball and saying like, hey, there's been great basketball going on for 50 years. Great basketball wasn't invented in the year 2005. So I'm a big fan of Jacob for that reason. But my takeaway from this is they really mentioned how much fun it was to go to the arena and see all Clippers jerseys. So it's like they've really created this home court. I'm switching between NFL, home field, home court. And that wall For whatever reason, it could be, more signal than noise, but the opposing team has had one of the lowest free throw percentages against them. So it can't hurt. I kind of like the Clippers to keep it rolling here. I saw a lot in that game, and I don't know what Denver does to switch. Like what's the adjustment they make? I mean, technically Westbrook could come back, right? Because he missed that last game, and I hate to say it for these people, but I think he actually means a lot to this team for how lack of depth they have. What do you think?
I mean, the depth is just a serious issue, man. They have no one to score off the bench, especially if Russ isn't even a really good scorer as it is, but generally he can get you 10 to 12, bring a lot of energy to the team. But outside of that, they have no depth. So I'm pretty concerned. I also think Jokic needs to shoot the ball more. I think he had 6 shot attempts at the end of the half last game. But that to me is an issue, man. Like you just do not have the pieces around you like you used to be able to distribute. And I know that's a large part of his game. But at some point, you kind of have to see that you have to take control of this team. You're right. You have to take control of the game. You're gonna have to shoot the ball 25 times if that's what it takes. Because he's shooting efficiently. I think he went 4 for 6 in the first half. I think he ended up with 14 shot attempts total. That's just not enough from your best offensive player. Like I said, I know what makes him great is him being able to distribute the ball, be a good passer, a high IQ player. But at some point, man, you're gonna have to just shoot, right? If other guys are not making baskets and you do not have the depth, you're gonna need to try and take the game over yourself and will this team. Otherwise, I think they're gonna be done here and maybe even 5, to be honest with you. 5 or 6 for sure. The Clippers are a good team. We said it before. I think we all picked the Clippers in this series. Um, Kawhi even didn't even have that good of a game. Harden really didn't have that good of a game. There was not one really player for Clippers, right, that really like had a really strong offensive game. I think I would be pretty concerned if I'm a Nuggets fan here. I just don't know really where you go other than you hope Jamal gets hot. You hope maybe Gordon gets hot and Jokic starts taking a bunch of shots. But outside of that, you just have no depth. This team is going to have to go into the offseason and regroup, revamp, and start getting in some pieces that can score because what they have is just not enough to win an NBA championship. And that needs to be the goal. When you have a player like Jokic, the goal is not to get out of the first round. It's not to get to the second round. The goal is to win NBA championships. You have a generational offensive player on your team. You got to win championships, and they got to do something different. This team is just not built that way right now. I think they're in some trouble. So I'm with you where I lean the Clippers. I was on the Nuggets.
Actually, I don't know if this is a lean. This is my favorite play for tomorrow.
Oh, I love it.
I'm ready to dive right in, man.
I love it.
Just the way the Clippers have been at home, and now let's just really start thinking about it. The Nuggets went life and death with the Clippers. Either one, both those games were coin flips, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was in Denver. Great home court advantage, altitude, all that stuff. And we don't know about Westbrook. And I know that, we had so much fun, especially if you go back to our time at Run Pure making fun of Westbrook on this show. But it's always about who's replacing you, right? Get rid of Russ. Well, if it's Julian Strawther replacing you, well, actually Russell Westbrook's an upgrade, right?
Yeah,
I think a lot of the problems with Westbrook was when the Lakers jettisoned the depth of, I believe it was Caruso, KCP, and one other player for him. Was it Kuzma? Yeah. Right. Yeah. It was just like, why are you trading those 3 guys for him? But, if it was Russ for Julian Strawther, like nobody would have been too upset at the Lakers for making that move, right? And Jeff, I'll let the YouTube chatters check out Jeff Steinberg's questions there as he's getting ready for the roast of WrestleMania. I'm gonna go ahead and switch. Jayme, did you see this? WWE tried to do their own roast, and it turned out to be so bad that they're not airing it after all.
Really? I didn't see this.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Some of the jokes have come out that they were telling, but they said, you know what, we're not airing this after all. Jeff would have fit in there because he's been roasting Keg constantly here in this stream. So if you're just listening, check out the chat and you can give yourself a chuckle as well. I'm also interested in the night game tomorrow night, Jayme, and I can't wait to talk to you about it. If Jimmy Butler was playing, this would be such a Warrior smash spot, but I think he'll be out there. I don't think he's going to be the same guy. I think this is really hard. Steph had the same injury during the season, and his first 2 games back were terrible. And he took more
Yep.
time off than Jimmy played. And Jimmy's tough, and I understand, especially with everything going on with Pat Riley, basically saying like the reason we didn't pay you is you only play 50 games a year.
Yeah.
We're going to pay you. We expect you to be there, right? And that was one of the main contentions that the Heat organization and Butler had. Now he's going to try and get out there, but if he's not the same guy, man, this team doesn't have the depth. I don't even know what's going on with Kuminga. Not excited about his quotes today, talking about he's been ready. You didn't look ready on game 2.
Mhm.
It was pretty bad tape. If you're gonna, it's funny. We talk about the tape with all this NFL draft going on. Pretty bad tape from Kuminga there. Multiple mistakes, not in the flow of the offense, missing open passes, bricking open shots, not being aggressive, and not using athleticism on defense. I think this Warriors team was incredibly top heavy, and if Butler's not 100%, I think they're in trouble. This sucks because if he was, this would be a Warriors smash spot. I'd lay 6.5 here back in Chase. I think the home court advantage matters that much. But without Butler, man, what is this team? Before the trade was made,
They were terrible.
they weren't playing. They might have been
100%.
looking at the lottery.
I think they
Butler
were like 11th.
completely
Yeah.
Yeah, he resuscitated this franchise, and credit to him for doing that. But if I can't count on him to be 100%, I can't lay this bet. Of course, we're going to wait a little while, but I'm almost thinking on this one, I'm going to take the money that I won off Los Angeles, and I'm going to wait for a couple minutes into the game just in case I'm wrong.
Yeah.
If he's out there, right, and he got some LeBron level HGH or whatever he needs to perform, then I don't make the bet. But otherwise, I'm on Houston. What do you think?
Yeah, you always got to throw a little jab in there. I love it.
Yeah, I got to be quick too, right? That's the jab's effective when it's quick.
100% in and out, in and out. No, I'm with you though. I think it does sound like he's going to play. I think we just got an alert probably like 15 minutes ago that they're optimistic.
He's going to play. But do you remember? I talked about this before. Do you remember when Anthony Davis did that? And I think it was against the Nuggets, right? When everybody was getting on him, you're not reliable. You're not this. So he went out and just ran around for 8 minutes just to show everybody, like, guys, I'm not being a pan.
But he was useless.
Play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was literally
it was like a statement, 8 minutes to just tell the fan base, like, guys, I'm not.
He couldn't even lift up his shoulder. I think it was a shoulder injury.
Yeah, and he's out there.
Yeah.
Because he's being pressured from the fan base. Now, I think Butler's more self-motivated than that. But I'm just saying, being out there isn't the same as making quality contributions. And I'm worried this could be a similar situation where he's pressuring himself to be out there. I even think AD pressured himself, not to get too much on him, in both those games that he returned from the Mavericks because of everything else that was going on.
100%.
I just worry that not the organization, not the fan base, but Butler himself is going to pressure himself to putting himself out there when he's not able to meaningfully contribute.
Yep. No, I'm 100% with you. I mean, it's tough to tell, right? Because if he is out there and he is even close to 100%, let's say he's like 85, 90%,
then the line should be 6.
Yeah. Then I think it's good enough for Golden State. But if he's not, man, you said it. Like, I'm just going to regurgitate some of the stuff you said. Like, this team is borderline bad, right? Borderline bad to awful without Jimmy Butler. And especially now when you trade all the pieces, right? So you have no real depth of this team. You trade all these pieces to be top heavy. And now Jimmy Butler's out. This team has no chance. The pressure that they're going to put on Steph defensively, Houston's already a good defensive team. They're going to be sending multiple guys at Steph, right? And they're going to be saying, okay, Buddy Hield, Pods, you guys beat us. Draymond Green, he every once in 10 games feels like he can kind of get hot, right? But like he's just not a reliable offensive player whatsoever. I think this team is going to be in trouble. I think already Houston causes issues with this team. I think Sengun is a matchup nightmare for them, man. Like he's a double machine. He's dominating them. I would be worried now that Jalen Green has actually felt like he came back to life a little bit because he had like a little stretch there, even to close the end of this season where he was not scoring, where he was really struggling. And then in these the first game against Golden State, he struggled as well, and then he came alive last game. So I would be pretty concerned if I'm a Golden State fan. Like I said, if Jimmy comes out and if he's anything close to 80%, you're probably going to be fine. I think he can still make an impact that way. I don't think also he needs to necessarily be a guy that's going to score 25 for his impact. I think him being out there allows guys to maybe focus a little bit more on him as well, and gives Steph a little bit more breathing room. But if, like you said, if he's banged up and he's pretty much useless out there, or if he misses any more time, Golden State's done, man. The team is just not. They don't have the depth. It's kind of like what we just talked about Denver as
And,
they're
and
very
let's
top
be
heavy.
fair. If most teams lose their second best player, they're done.
Yeah, that's
LeBron
reality.
goes out, they're done, right? Boston, if
Maybe
they lose
not
Jason
Boston,
Tatum,
but Boston's the one team I think to win it all. I would say would be
yeah,
obviously an issue,
they'd be
but like
done.
I still think they could beat.
They could beat Orlando. Yeah,
They
that's
could beat
not fair.
Orlando,
But
and they could
you
even potentially
understand
beat the
my
Knicks.
point.
But yeah,
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 we're not trying to down any team lose. It's just like, well,
uh,
they lost their quarterback. Well, no team can lose their starting quarterback and be good in the NFL.
100%.
Let's move to Sunday. I took the Pistons yesterday. You took the Knicks. You were right. I was wrong. Do I go back to the well? Pistons are now -2. The market thinks that the Pistons are going to get this win after they were +1.5, and it almost reminds me of that Clippers Nuggets line movement, right? Where the Clippers lose, then they become the favorites, and it ends up being the right side. To me, I'm going to go back to the well with the Pistons, or I'm going to pass on it. But you've had a better handle on this series than me. What do you think we should do with Sunday morning's game? 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, Pistons laying 2.
My lean is the Knicks. I picked Knicks in 6, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 5. To be honest, I think that the Knicks are just a much better team at this point. I think Pistons' future is still bright. They got some young, good players on this team, especially next year when they get fully healthy. Um, I just don't. But also, the Knicks scare me a little bit too, man. Like I said, I felt like honestly, last night's game they should have probably won by, I don't know, 10 to 15,
Felt
right?
like
And
a
so
lot of things went right, too. I don't know if we can count on Towns to have another game like that.
100%. Like I said, Brunson did play pretty poorly early on, at least from an efficiency standpoint. Then he really started,
Mhm.
get it going later in the fourth. I don't
Break
love
this
it. I
down
mean,
real quick. I'll be right back.
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pistons ended up pulling this one out. I think the Pistons got pieces. I think Schroeder's got to play a little bit better. Tim Hardaway, he got off to a hot start, but then he started to slow down, which is I think it's kind of what we expect with a guy like Tim Hardaway. But like the spread said it early on, Kate Cunningham's got to get guys involved. He cannot be a primary scorer on this team. This team is at its best when he is really distributing the ball early on and often. I could see this one going either way. My initial lean would be for the Knicks, just because I think that they have a little bit more of a championship caliber team. I don't think they have a chance to win a championship, but they got pieces, guys who have kind of been there before. OG Anunoby, won. Cat made the Western Conference Finals last year. But if we're going to see performances like we did last night with Cat, this team is going to be winning in 5. So if Cat comes out and he has another game where he's not scoring in the fourth quarter, I think that's going to be problematic for the Knicks, and I can see the Pistons side. But if Cat does anything remotely like he did, last game, the Pistons are going to be done for.
All right. I'm glad I got some time to think about it. But right now, I think I'm just going to go right back to it with the Pistons and just count on Cat being inconsistent, because we've seen that throughout his whole career, right? He'll drop 61 on like 75% from the field and then come out the next game and just be average. So, let's see how these adjustments work. And boy, they get a little better. They just can't fall behind. You know what really pissed me off about Cade being so ball dominant was I felt like the defensive effort for the Pistons was lethargic. And you've done it before too, right? When you're at the Y and there's some guy on your team and you never touch the ball on offense. I mean, every time you see it, it's so funny. That's one of the funniest things to me, where obviously NBA basketball is way different than the basketball that you and I played. But the same thing, right? When a guy makes a shot, he's jacked up, right? You see a guy, especially a role player, make a shot and he's down on defense and he's a little bit fired up. When you don't touch the ball for 3 or 4 possessions, you kind of get out of the flow of the game. And I think that, I'd like to see Cade get a little bit more involved, which is crazy because at Baylor, he was such a good distributor.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he was ball dominant, but really, and I still think he's a good passer. And I'm still complaining he had 11 assists, so it's not like he was completely selfish. It's not like some of these guys where they drop 37 with 1 assist. So I think that's an interesting series. I would like to see the Pistons fight back. I still think the Knicks advance, but it might be in 7. And I could see each game being close, and then the Knicks just destroying them in Game 7 in the bright lights, at home where there's a lot of pressure. But I'll tell you what, Jayme, this has been a pretty fun first round so far, right? A couple disappointments, but Clippers Nuggets has delivered, Warriors Rockets has delivered, and the Lakers Timberwolves have delivered as far as giving us meaningful basketball drama. On the other side, we already knew that 1 and 2 were so far ahead of the field in the East that it was a joke. So whoop-de-doo, throw those out. But we're going to get great matchups in round 2 in the East, regardless of who advances. So, there's a reason why a lot of people that I know, especially that don't gamble, don't watch the NBA until the playoffs. And I think, these opening couple weeks have shown why. It's a different sport. It's a better sport. And it's really exciting with a lot of great matchups. And you don't know how much I'm loving Jayme being able to consume NBA content and they're actually talking about the games.
Yeah.
It's actually unbelievable. I mean, they haven't traded Giannis. They haven't traded Trey, right? And I'm sure that'll all start up pretty soon. But it just shows you how much the NBA needs to cut back their schedule, and they need to convince their media members to do more content like we get in the playoffs. Because basketball, it's not as complicated as football, but there's a lot of fun matchups that we can look at just the same way we look at the football game. Think about all the fun we have when we bring you on our NFL betting show and you're breaking down, well, hey, you think this team's a good offense, but they actually struggle against zone. And the team they're facing this week plays a ton of zone. So and we're actually looking at individual matchups. We're doing the same thing with the NBA now, right? Hey, this team struggles to defend the three-point line. But this team doesn't shoot very many threes, right? Look at the Celtics and the Magic, right?
Yeah.
Kind of an argument in the Celtics. Sometimes they don't run people off the three-point line. The Magic can't take advantage of it. But let's see what happens next round. There's so many awesome stories that I feel like the NBA is leaving on the table to grab the low-hanging fruit and more of like the hater muse type of content. And I know I'm going on an old man rant, so I'm going to turn it over to you. What's your favorite bet let's do tonight, and then let's do for the weekend.
Okay. Let's see. I loved Orlando plus 1.5 tonight. But I'm actually gonna go the over in Indianapolis and Milwaukee over 230. It's 230.5. At least it was on FanDuel about 15 minutes ago. I still like that one. I think that one clears over, so that'll be my favorite bet for that. As far as this weekend, I'm gonna go opposite of you. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to the Knicks. I think I'm gonna go back to the Knicks. If we had more information about Jimmy Butler, more clarity there, I would side with one of those. Like if we knew Jimmy Butler was going to be 100%
the thing
healthy,
is, that's why I said I'm
not
gonna bet
going
that game live. You don't get that info pregame. You're not gonna get that info pregame.
You're gonna have to be able to watch it and see. So I would go with the Knicks again. I'm gonna back the Knicks. I think they're just better than this Pistons team. I can see it ending in 5 or 6.
All right, for tonight, my best bet is Orlando Magic first half plus. You had 1.5. It's 0.5 now. I still think it's good. And for the weekend, my favorite bet is the Clippers -6. It's too bad. I actually kind of like the Nuggets better. I think for me as a fan, it would be more fun if Jokic could continue to add to his legacy. However, I'm not just an NBA fan. I'm also an NBA bettor. And just seeing what I see with the Clippers home court advantage, their depth advantage. I mean, David Adelman, did we talk about it on this show or was it on my wagering world either? It reminds me of, we're both fight fans, right? And a guy pulls out of a fight and then another guy comes in on 3 days notice. Yeah. And he's going against a really good fighter. That's how I feel. David Edelman could end up being an excellent coach, and I'm rooting for him. His father brought the greatest success to our franchise, and I'm loyal to coaches that bring us success, which is why I'm still pissed off about Mike Brown being fired because he broke a 17-year-old streak, and you're going to – anyways.
100%.
I think David Edelman could be really good, but not right now. He took this fight
Yeah.
on 3 days' notice, and he's not prepared the way he would have if they would have each had their proper fight camps. So
Yep.
I bet you Edelman, I wouldn't be surprised if he got that job and did a really good job with the team next year.
Yeah.
Just going against Tai Lu right now, it's just too much to ask for a young guy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not as into the Kawhi legacy. You know what, Clyde? I mean, it's not that I'm against him. He actually won me plenty of money because I was backing him during that Raptors streak. But I mean, I don't really care about Kawhi's legacy. Is he the most boring superstar we've ever had?
I mean, he's definitely boring. He does not really. I mean, he doesn't speak much at all. He honestly doesn't show too much emotion. But he is. Man, I really wonder what would have happened had he had been more healthy and how we would be talking about him. I genuinely think he's still a top 5 player in the NBA when he's at full health. When he's at full health, man, he's an elite defender and he's a good scorer too.
I mean, Bill Simmons and Celtics fans will hate it, but at full health, he's better than Tatum.
Oh,
so now you're going in the Giannis, Shea,
Luka.
Honestly,
Jokic.
He's better than Luka the way he's playing right now. So I'd probably go.
Yeah.
I go Giannis. I mean, Jokic, Giannis, Kawhi, then Shea, then Luka. If I were doing my top 5.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. I mean, Kawhi definitely clearly a much better defender. I mean, Luka is.
That's the only reason I'm giving it to. Luka's obviously much better on offense, though.
Luka's better
a way better passer. On offense, well, because I think on defense, Kawhi makes his teammates better. But on offense, I think he raises the floor more, where Kawhi just kind of does his thing. Yeah. Almost like KD, right? Excellent player, but does he really make his teammates better on offense? I don't know. On defense,
that's kind of my thought on SGA, too. I mean, not to get into a big rant here, but I think Luka is better than SGA, right? Like, I think SGA, he causes more issues for opposing defenders, right? But I also think where guys like Jokic and Luka is like they're elevating their teammates and they're elevating the guys around them. So I think Luka is better than SGA personally. Obviously, I'm a little biased, clearly, but I mean, you can't go wrong with either of these guys. So if any of these guys are on your team, you're sitting pretty. So
I think the only reason people put Shea ahead is he's a really good defensive player. Where
he is, he is a good defensive player for sure. Yep.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have that image in the finals of who was it, Jaylen Brown just dribbling right around Luka, and he like doesn't even move his feet.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I literally think that play is the reason that Nico Harrison traded him. Bro, you're basing the future of your franchise off one play.
Yeah,
right. It reminds me of when the Raiders drafted Jamarcus Russell because he threw it to the field goal on the 50-yard line from his knees. It's like, guys, we need more context than this one video highlight. You know?
Yeah. No, I mean, Luka is a terrible defender, man. I feel like in these last 2 games, he has put in a little bit more effort defensively. I do think effort only kind of gets you so far. I don't think he necessarily has a skill set. Like his lateral movement is not very good. So when he gets out in like isolation, guys are going to kind of blow by him. But he was guarding Ant for a good chunk of the end of last game. So I'm definitely with you. One thing about Jokic, man, we do need him to score more points because I took him for the most points. So I'm a little bit biased. I want him to shoot the ball a little bit more, but I'm trying to win that Jokic most points. I think he's 4 points behind Kawhi. So I think that's going to end up being close to it between those two. Is going to have the most points.
I still like where you're at. I still like where you're at
too.
Because you're going to get everything from Jokic every night, and Kawhi and Harden and Lou are smart. Like, let's just say Powell gets hot. They're going to feed him. Let's say Harden has one of his, this is 2018 again nights, right?
100%.
They're going to feed him. And Kawhi's not, we talk about being boring. At least he cares about winning. He doesn't care about his stats.
No.
He doesn't even care about his legacy, I don't think.
No, and honestly, it was just that one really big night. What was it in game 2 where he had like 37 or 38 or something like that? So that
he was like 18 of 19 from the field, like he didn't miss.
I think he missed like 2 or 3 shots, literally. So
it was unbelievable,
dude. That was a great.
It looked stupid. It looked like when you play like NBA 2K and you make your guy a 99 and you put it on rookie and you just can't miss.
You can't miss. Yeah, 100%.
Doesn't matter who's guarding you.
Yeah.
So. All right, buddy. Thank you for joining me today. It's a lot of fun. Are you traveling for any more sporting events, or are we going to have access to you next week?
Yep, I'm good to go. If the Lakers make the Western Conference Finals, I'll probably fly out back to LA and go to a game. So, but that's a long ways away from now. So even if that does happen, yeah, I will be available, man. So anytime you
Okay,
need me
great.
on, man, I'm good to go.
I'm going to talk to you afterwards. Monday might be an issue for me.
Okay.
Um, so I'm doing my defensible space up here. I got a couple friends coming over.
Oh, cool.
But I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
if I don't know. I don't even think we'll be done by the time the games tip off.
Okay.
So we might not do Monday next week, but we'll do Tuesday through Friday. I'll
Yeah.
talk to you about a little more about that this weekend. But guys, thank you for joining us. This show's brought to you by Nuke the House. The boys are going live again tonight to discuss the draft and the NBA playoffs. And of course, they'll be live this weekend. There's an exciting UFC event going on. They always do well at that. NASCAR is like the bread and butter. They crush that, and continued discussion of the fallout of the NFL draft. Jayme, you got 10 more minutes for us? Do you want to give them a little bonus segment?
Yeah.
All right, bro. I'm changing the bottom of the screen. Oh, wait. Was this the one I wanted? Yeah, talking touchdowns. Here
Talking
we go.
touchdowns.
Yeah, talking touchdowns. How's this one going?
Yeah.
Which one's better? This one's better. Nuke the house. All right. Your thoughts of the NFL draft last night. Bonus segment for the people.
Man, I thought it was fun. It's funny. I've talked to you about it before, but I've kind of been a Trevor Lawrence guy these past few years when it comes to like fantasy football specifically. And it was funny as soon as they did that trade and they got um Travis Hunter, I texted all my friends. I'm like, I'm back on the bandwagon again, man.
Lucy,
So
right? Full mouth football again. We're doing it
100%.
again.
We're going right back to the well, man. I think that's a really fun fit between them with Liam Cohen. I mean, we already love Brian Thomas. Now you had Travis Hunter. At this point, there's no more excuses for Trevor Lawrence, right? Like if he ends up flaming out here, he is what he is, and he's just not the guy we all kind of thought and hoped he was going to be.
Mhm.
So I'm excited about that. But there's some interesting moves. I know a lot of people talk about like that trade in general, and how they gave up a lot, and they did. So if you look at it,
They
right,
did.
just from
They
like a
gave up too much, but
100%. But at the end of the day, it doesn't. If you get the guy you want, and Travis Hunter, let's say, ends up being a Hall of Famer, right? Like the generational wide receiver talent that people think he's going to be, or cornerback, whatever, right? No one's going to look back at these picks. You know what I mean? And
no.
and be like, oh, we shouldn't have done this. So it's like, yeah, from the math standpoint of like the trade value charts, yeah, you lost the trade. But if Travis Hunter ends up being the Travis Hunter we expect him to be, it's going to work out just fine. They're going all in on that offense, so I like it. What do you think about your Raiders and you're getting Genty? What do you think about that one?
So I did not like the Genty pick from like a team building, try to win a championship
Yeah,
standpoint. And my argument was this: look at Saquon on the Giants. They
100%.
didn't win very much. Running backs are the last position to be filled. However, from talking to my buddy who's a Raiders fan, and we watched the games probably until about week 8 when I told him I'm not coming over anymore. This is just depressing. At least it makes our week 1 more exciting, right? Because we're going to be more fun to watch.
Yeah,
There's a chance he turns out to be this game breaker. It just feels like, I want, and we might end up getting Sanders too, and I'm going to ask you about that next. But quarterback is as important in the new NFL where the rules are the way they are. It's just as important as the other 52 guys combined.
yeah,
So I would rather take a swing at the quarterback. We got an opportunity to get him today, and then after that, I like inside out. Like it's funny because I was listening to a couple draft recaps, right, and you hear them kind of skip over all the linemen, right? But like those are good
yeah.
picks.
Yeah,
Like, and
important
I'm not
picks, yeah.
sure about that Banks guy, but if they hit on that pick, that's going to
Yep,
be huge for the Saints
yep,
because they didn't know how both sides of their line. The guy
yep,
the Bengals picked, yeah, it's not too exciting, right? But if he
yep,
ends up being a stud next to Hendrickson and he's disrupting backfields and giving Lamar and Joe Burrow some problems, then it ends up being a stellar pick, right? The Eagles have done this for years.
mm-hmm.
They're not drafting wide receivers in the first round that's affecting our NFL best ball shares.
Right.
But it's going to be great. So I was a little disappointed when it happened just because I would have loved to grab the guy the Jets got, Membu.
Yeah.
The Walker was on the board. They ended up going to Atlanta. Even the guy the Niners got, maybe he ends up being a better defensive player.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably rather have those guys. But I mean, This is one of the cases where I hope I'm wrong. And from everyone that I'm reading, it sounds like I am wrong. And this guy was really worthy of the pick. I thought he was overdrafted, but the consensus seems to be no, he was actually worth this pick. And he's not just the best running back in this class, but probably the best running back since Saquon came out. It's just as far as a prospect evaluation tape. So I was pretty excited about that. What do you think? I mean, from a fantasy perspective, it's great. If you drafted Genty, which I did not, because I didn't think he was going to the Raiders, it's going to be a great situation for him.
Yep. No, I agree. From fantasy, I think he's going to get a massive workload. I mean, we're talking now Pete Carroll. I mean, this is kind of what he's done, right? Like with Marshawn Lynch. Like, I think he's going to get fed, man. I think he's going to have a high workload. I think he's going to be a really good pick from a fantasy perspective. Offensively, I'm with you. I kind of tend to believe like these. I almost never personally would draft a running back in like the top 10.
I wouldn't even draft one in the first round. I was even surprised the Chargers did. I was surprised they did that.
Yeah, it's I just don't think that these guys are going to impact winning football games unless you already have everything around it. Like a perfect example is look at this year, right? Like Josh Jacobs on the Raiders did nothing. He went on Green Bay and completely elevated that team. Derrick Henry was on the Titans, who really did nothing, right? And then goes to Baltimore, elevated that team. Saquon Barkley on the Giants did nothing, goes to an Eagles team, elevates that team. I think that you got to have the full kind of roster, the offensive line, the quarterback, even the defense kind of all lined up. And then you're able to bring in these guys that can add impact. I don't think the Raiders are quite there yet. I'm excited for this Raiders team, though. To be honest, I think Geno Smith's a good get. I'm interested to see if they do get Shador. I haven't seen anything since we've been on.
And in the chat, Pat had noticed it was 125 when I did the Wagering World this morning. It's out to 250 right now.
For him to go to Oakland or Las Vegas?
Yeah. Oh, maybe I just saw that online. That wasn't a Fathead comment. But I think we are going to end up with him.
And I think sitting behind Geno Smith, I think it's going to be good, man. We talked about it. Like, I just don't think Shador even would be ready to kind of go to a team. Like, if he went to Cleveland, he was forced to start right away for Cleveland. I think it would be a pretty big issue. I don't think they don't have any pieces around him. I think he'd end up probably being a flop. But getting now with Pete Carroll, Tom Brady's up in the office. Now you get to sit behind Geno Smith a little bit, right? Who I don't think is, an elite quarterback, but I don't think he's certainly a bad one either. So I think it's going to be a pretty good fit for him if he could go there. The Saints too, I just don't necessarily love the fit in New Orleans. Like Chris Olave, man, he's a concussion away from never playing football again. Like reality, So I don't love the fit there. I think the Raiders might be the best fit. The only concern for the Raiders, right, would be that I don't know. You do have Geno sign up. I think the two.
It's just the opportunity cost. There's so many good players still on the board.
100%. And Pete Carroll is old, so I mean he's like 75, right, or something like that. So he's an older head coach,
but Spytek is the one making the pick, and he's got to be thinking long term.
100%.
And I think Brady's going to want him. Brady worked with him, and Brady liked him. So
yeah. I think it would be a good fit. My kind of hot take, I don't know if it's a really hot take, but I think Jackson Dart could end up being one of the best quarterbacks in this draft.
No way. So you beat me. I was about to go straight to that next.
Yeah.
I cannot believe they drafted Jackson Dart ahead of Sanders. I think Sanders is going to be way better than Jackson Dart. You are very good at watching tape, better than me, I'll admit. If we were both scouts, you do a better job than I would. But what are you seeing from this Jackson Dart tape? Because I don't like it at all. To me, this is Zach Wilson. This is Rex Grossman. This is a guy with a great arm that I don't think is ever going to understand the intricacies of playing quarterback and really be able to do things that I think Sanders will be able to do, which is read the defense and layer the ball correctly with the idea that this is when I zing it. This is when I do it soft. This is how I lead my receivers. I just don't see that from Dart. What are you seeing? Because I thought that was a terrible pick, and I was shocked.
Yeah, so I like it a lot. I think that, one, he's young, right? And I feel like that every single year, if you kind of look at his numbers too, he's improved. And I don't think Ole Miss really had a very they didn't have a solid wide receiver. He really didn't have tons of weapons to be thrown to, right? Where some of these guys, like, yeah, Shador did play really well, but he also had arguably, they say like the generational wide receiver prospect he was throwing the ball
Right.
to. I think the ability, I think if Dart started right away, it would be an issue. I don't think he would be good right away. I think 3 to 4 years down the road, I think he has the ability to learn and get better year by year. I think that I think he's athletic. I think he's mobile enough. I also love the landing spot. I'm a big Brian Daboll fan. I think Brian Daboll he's had to work with Daniel Jones, who, by the way, he led to the playoffs one year and beat the Minnesota Vikings in the first round with Daniel Jones, and ultimately is what got Daniel Jones the bag that he got. Then he had Drew Lock, and then he had Tommy DeVito. So I think now you get Brian Daboll, who I think is a very high level offensive minded coach, specifically from the quarterback position. You're going to have Malik Neighbors, who's going to be growing into this team, and he's also now going to sit behind Russell Wilson and or Jameis Winston. I assume Russ is the starter, obviously, right? But still, he's not going to have any pressure, I think, to play right away. I think that's going to be impactful. I know you mentioned Zach Wilson, but Zach Wilson didn't have the supporting cast and didn't have the coaching, and was forced to kind of come out and try to play right away too, didn't he? If I remember right, didn't Zach Wilson start right away?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't think that's just good for especially younger guys. Like, he is just
Which is
really
why I
young.
totally want Sanders in Vegas. Everyone goes, "You got Geno." I go, "I'm not thinking about just next season.
Yeah, it's
Thinking
long
about 3
term.
years from now. I don't want to draft a rookie and throw him under the fire. I'd rather have Sanders." And guess what? If we find out that he sucks, we got 2 years to do that in practice and training camp. And we lost a second round pick. Whoop-de-doo. Do you know how many
Yeah,
second round picks I've seen this team flub over the history of my life? It's
I mean,
not the end of the
100%.
world.
It's
I think it's
it's
worth the
worth it.
risk personally.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, getting a franchise quarterback right in the second round is 100% worth the risk. Like,
Yeah.
if it doesn't work out, yeah, you could have drafted an offensive
And
lineman
to
that turned
your
into a
guy,
bust,
Jordan
or
Love, can you imagine how his career would have been if he would have had to come in right away? Because I didn't think
he
he was. I loved him at Utah State, but I didn't think he was ready. And look at
no,
him now.
he
Yeah.
100%. I'm such a big believer as far as quarterback play and their success long term. It is so much dependent on where they land in the situation around them. Going to a bad team when you don't have much around you and you're forced to come out right away. I think most players, obviously not everyone, most quarterbacks are going to struggle in that environment. So I think landing in a spot like Jackson Dart did with Brian Dayball, with a Malik Neighbors. They helped out their defensive side by getting Abdul Carter, who I think is an absolute stud, could end up being the best player in the draft overall. And then being able to sit behind now Russell Wilson for a couple years, I think is huge for this team. So I think he is going to be. I think he's going to be good long term. I would not be shocked at all if he's the best quarterback in this draft when we look back in 4 years.
Wow. Okay, we're definitely in disagreement there. So one of us will be overlapping that one. Some
Yeah.
other takeaways for me, and I'll get your thoughts. Will Campbell. Why are we against this guy? Guy started as a freshman.
Yep.
What, you worried about his arm size? We're just not watching tape anymore.
Yeah.
The guy's an excellent pass blocker, and he's crushing people in the run game. And he's not doing it in North Dakota State, guys. He did it in the
Yeah.
SEC. He's doing this against NFL level pass rushers. I think that's a great pick for New England. Are you surprised that people are trying to call Will Campbell a guard and tell the Patriots they missed on that pick?
No, I think that's a good pick, man. I think it's what you got to do. You got Drake May over here already, so it's you got your quarterback of the future. Now you got to surround him. I mean, that offensive line was pretty bad last year, man. So I think it's a smart move for the future. I think we're all in agreement. It's not like we think the Patriots are all of a sudden going to be a playoff contender next year, but I think they're making the right steps.
They might.
I don't think they have. I mean, they did
First
get
of all,
with
Miami's
Diggs.
terrible. Miami's
Yeah.
terrible. And there's a good chance the Jets aren't going to be very good either.
100%. It's the Bills division, but it's probably just going to be one team from that
Right.
division,
But
in
they
my
can make a wild
opinion.
card. I think they can make a wild card.
I don't think so. I would be pretty shocked. I mean, they got Diggs.
But here's the thing we're not thinking. We're thinking of all these teams at full health. What if Burrow rolls an ankle or sprains a knee,
Oh yeah.
right?
Well,
What if Lamar misses time, right? things at the beginning of the season that we expect, and then a couple injuries happen, and we throw their name out right off the bat. So, yeah, at full strength, they're not ready. But if they're able to stay healthy and some of these other teams aren't, to me, they're right there to jump in that 6 or 7 spot, especially if Pittsburgh rolls in the season with Mason Rudolph, because there's a playoff team we can just take out.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely true, but I also think I don't know when I look at your division, the Raiders division, I would like, dude, I would not be shocked if 4 of those teams had won 8
But
to 9
same deal,
games.
though. Herbert's been hurt before.
Sure,
Herbert's missed some time before, right?
Yeah,
Denver, it doesn't even have to be the quarterback in Denver. If they lose Surtain, I think that they don't. I mean, he's so big to their defense. There's just ways that I think things could shake out. The season starts and a couple injuries happen, and these teams look so much differently, right? When we do the strength of schedule, right? And then you get to week 10 and it's not even close.
yeah,
Like last year, we thought the Vikings were going to be a pushover, right? When we did our little division preview, and let's go through the schedule. We count the Vikings as a W for most teams. They end up being 14-3. So I wouldn't be surprised if New England turns things around quickly. I really like Vrabel a lot. You know what? I just love Vrabel's so awesome. Do you know that he actually pass rushed against Campbell during their visit?
Did he really?
Vrabel put pads on and made him block his own his potential coach, because he said he wanted to feel him.
Yeah,
I just got to feel how he blocks, right? And then he said, I'm ready to go with this guy. I think that's freaking awesome, man.
That is awesome.
I really like that. Yeah.
That is cool. He probably lit up a cigarette right after that too, but Vrabel he's old school, man.
He's an OG. Tet McMillan going to Carolina. Talked about Genty, a perfect fantasy landing spot. I think this is the same deal, man. He's going to come in there and he's going to be the number 1 target right off the bat. Up and coming quarterback, good coordinator. I don't know how the Panthers are going to do. I don't know if this makes them a winning franchise, but I think it's going to be great for fantasy. And I've been drafting McMillan. I'm pretty happy about the shares I have. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I like it. I think it's good for Bryce Young. I mean, we saw Bryce Young kind of turn it around late in the season last year. He started looking really good. And this is kind of what a lot of us expected, specifically me at the beginning of the year last year when I was drafting a lot of Bryce Young. I'm a big Dave Canales fan. And I think he finally got this offense kind of going. I think he got Bryce Young going. I think, honestly, Bryce Young getting benched there for Dalton for, however many weeks that was, 3-4 weeks, actually did him wonders, man, to be honest. He came back. He looked much, much better, much more confidence, moving around the pocket, throwing the ball downfield. I mean, he had multiple games where they almost beat the Chiefs, almost beat the Bucs late in the game. A lot of close games towards the end of the year. I think it's a good fit. And I'm going to be probably drafting a lot of Bryce Young again this year. I've not.
And I think McMillan
ADPs.
moved up the board by about 10 slots.
Probably so. Yeah.
Spot. Speaking of a team that I don't know if it's good for fantasy, Egbuka ends up on the Buccaneers.
Yeah, that's not good for fantasy.
Are they basically just saying that Godwin is not playing?
Yeah, that to me was pretty alarming. I mean, I don't know. Godwin had tore his ACL in 2001 and
broke his ankle
this past year. And Evans is old. I think Evans like almost 33 or
is he?
He's 31. Okay. But he's getting up there, and it's definitely kind of around the time where these wide receivers, when they get to that 31, 32 age, where you kind of see a dip in production. And he's kind of a guy who's dealt with hamstring injuries throughout his career as well. So from a future standpoint, I think it's fine. Maybe if you're playing dynasty leagues, it might be a decent guy to pick. But I don't think outside of injuries, he's going to have much impact this season. I just don't really see how that is unless that Godwin is way more.
I don't think Godwin's going to play like the first 8 weeks. He comes in as the number 2. They keep McMillan in the slot, and I think he can have a great role, similar to T. Higgins.
It's got to be.
I don't think being a number 2, right? We see Devontae Smith, not last year, but the season before, Jalen Waddle. Number 2s can have an excellent fantasy impact. My main takeaway from that, though, is Godwin is way worse than they're letting on, and I'm staying away from him in my drafts. Talk to me real quick. It's homer time. Golden to the Packers. To me, an unbiased observer, great pick, fills a need. You have to be happy. But as a homer, tell me what this means. Is Matthew Golden going to be Rookie of the Year? Mixed with LaFleur and Jordan Love, right? Rookie of the Year. Have you made the bet yet?
No, I will not be making that bet. Green and Golden. Yeah, I do. That's a great
Oh,
fantasy
nice.
name too. That's a great fantasy
Yeah.
name, right? Like, if you're for your team name. But I'd love the pick from like a real life football standpoint. I think I kind of talked to you about this earlier. I think he fills a big need of this team. Watson's almost surely going to be out like the first 12 weeks. The Packers lack speed at the position. They need a field stretcher. They need a guy who can um, beat some of these DBs, specifically in man coverage. Like they have a bunch of good guys, no real guys that can fill that role. So I think it is huge for this team from a real life standpoint. Now, fantasy, I think it's going to be tough. The Packers, they had the second highest run rate of all teams last year, just behind the Eagles. They want to run the football at their core. Jordan Love's probably going to throw the ball 25 times, right? Ideally for Matt LaFleur, like a neutral game script. And there's still a lot of mouths to feed, right? So I don't think he can be a guy on this team unless injuries happen where he's going to get 8+ targets. He's going to probably fall in that 4 to 6 range. Jaden Reed's going to fall in that 4 to 6 range. Dobbs probably going to get 4. Wicks is going to get you 3 to 4. You also have Tucker Kraft, who's I think is going to take a big step this year. I think he's going to get to that 5 or 6 range. They signed McCole Hardman, and obviously Josh Jacobs and these other guys are going to get 2 or 3 targets a game. So it just kind of all adds up to where I think without an injury, I don't see him being like a massive fantasy producer week in and week out. I think that he has the upside and the skill set to end up being the number one wide receiver on this team. But just the way that this Packers team is run with LaFleur and how they want to run the football, I just don't see him being like a massive fantasy star. For best ball, if he's like a late round pick, I think he's going to be a guy that's going to have pretty big upside. Kind of how Jaden Reed was, right? Like his rookie year, he ended up being on like the best ball mania winner because towards the end of the year he got in due to
Yeah.
some injuries, and then he ended up panning out late, and he was like kind of the guy who was getting drafted, and like one of the bottom rounds, right? He's like one of the last Packers wide receiver if you're stacking up Love, and I think that could be the same situation here. I think he's have tons of upside. Love has a cannon, man. Love needs a guy that he can just let it go. And so I'm
And
with
not to
you.
mention that Golden doesn't need to run deep to be effective. I think
He
he's a
does it.
perfect mix with Jaden Reed because it's not going to be your traditional like Tyreek goes down the field and Waddle works underneath. They can
Yeah.
take turns. So it's not
Yep.
like when you go against Miami, like, okay, Tyreek's the guy that's going to take us over the top. They're not going to know who's going over the top.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge. And for a guy like LaFleur, who's able to pick up these little tendencies that his opponents like to do, once he's got them on their heels, oh, yeah, I think it's a great pick. And I think you as Packers fans should be really excited. For division rival, the Chicago Bears, they pick up Loveland. I thought that was a really good pick. I was really high on Tyler Warren, and I think that probably would have been better for my best ball shares of Tyler Warren if he went to Chicago.
Yeah.
But taking a look at it and the idea that they still want to use Kmet and run 2 tight end sets, I think Warren and Kmet kind of overlapped, right? We talk about overlapping skill sets. I think Loveland provides more variety for that offense, and he's going to be a great fit as a Packers fan. Are you worried about the Bears' addition of Colston Loveland, and how do you see Chicago doing this year?
Yeah, I think the Bears are definitely making some of the right moves this offseason, man. They really have. From fantasy perspective, I think Loveland has a lot of upside. To me, this just gives me Sam Laporta vibes, man. It really does. I think that he's a better pass catcher probably than Warren. Warren is like, I think, a better overall, like as far as like being a blocker as well. And, he still has the ability to open his space, has good hands. I think Loveland is almost, he feels like Jimmy Grammy to me, to be honest. Like that's kind of the vibes I get from him. And like you said, the Lions last year, they ran 12 personnel, 2 tight end sets at the 3rd highest rate. I think they're going to do the same thing. It takes a hit for Kmet, obviously, but I think Loveland definitely has the ability to I think he's going to be a stud, man. I don't know exactly where he's going to go. You've done a lot of drafts. I've not done any drafts yet, so I don't know like even where he was going.
I think he flipped ADP. Tyler Warren was around between 90 to 100. Loveland was between like 110 and 125.
And
average ADP.
he's
I think that flips. And I think,
100%.
unfortunately for me, having all these Warren shares, it was, I don't think it's a good landing spot for Tyler
It's
Warren.
not a good, not at all, in my opinion, man.
Mm-mm.
I think it's a pretty bad one. I mean, what, you're gonna get like 150, 180 total yards receiving from this team, or passing yards, right? It's like
Yeah.
I don't really see how it can happen unless he all of a sudden becomes like a massive touchdown machine for this team.
Unless
But
Steichen really, I mean, this is Steichen's chance.
yeah,
If he makes Daniel Jones into even like a top 15 guy,
yep,
I mean, give him a 10-year extension.
yeah, uh,
You've basically just
yeah,
proven you
yeah.
deserve to coach in the NFL, in my opinion.
100%. I'm with you. So I love the Loveland move for the Bears from a fantasy perspective. Hate it from a Packers perspective. I think the Bears are going to be a threat, man. I hate to say it. They just had made all the right
Who
moves.
needs to be
I was
better
a
next
fan.
year, Bears or Lions? They didn't pass the Lions yet, did they?
Part of me wants to say the Bears because I do, but I think when you actually look at like the win totals, I don't think so. But I do think the Bears are going to take a massive leap, and I do think the Lions are going to take a step back. But I still don't think it's like to the point they're going to overlap yet. I still think that I could see the Bears winning, 8 to 10 games, and I could see the Lions winning 10 to 11 games. Um, so I think
Sticking
that
the
they're going to be
NFC
closer.
North,
Yeah.
talk about terrible spots. Isn't JJ McCarthy in a terrible spot? I mean,
I don't
talk about
know.
coming in with pressure. I know you can say all the weapons, great coach, da, da, da.
Yeah.
You're taking over a team that won 14 games. You only
Yeah.
win 10 or 11 games. First of all, that's an excellent season for a rookie.
Yeah.
Talk about taking a step back, man. I would not be surprised. And I know that making fun of Sam Darnold, it's too bad Tyler's not here. I know that making fun of Sam Darnold is the national pastime at this point. It's surpassed baseball in the popularity of what people like to do in their spare time in America. But I don't think that people gave him credit for everything he did for that team and the veteran leadership that he showed. And I think it's just a lot to ask JJ McCarthy, who, to be honest, wasn't asked to do a lot in Michigan. And
Yeah.
I talked to my friend about it yesterday. Go back to that Michigan title team. How many quarterbacks that year do you think you could have switched and they still win that title? Right? I
Right.
mean, there's probably 4 or 5 college quarterbacks that year, and he's a bigger college fan than me, so he's able to name them off. But he wasn't the reason they won that title. I think that's a tough shot. And, I was pro Vikings last year. That was a fun argument that Tyler and I had. But I'm going to actually be anti-Vikings this year. And I just feel bad for McCarthy because I feel like he's going to get blamed for it. But I think it's too much to ask for a guy. I mean, how many passes did he throw as a senior?
Yeah. I mean, he's
He's
definitely a
only
really good
dropping
runner
back
too.
18 times a game.
Yeah. He's much more mobile than Darnold. I think from a fantasy perspective, I think JJ McCarthy is a good fit there. I just think
No, fantasy, it's great. I'm just wondering about
from real life
this.
football.
It's your first year in the league. You finished 9-8. For most players, that'd be great. Right? If
Yeah.
Cam Ward gets his team to 9 wins,
Yeah.
he's rookie of the year. No doubt.
Yeah. Well,
Right?
I definitely think the team
If
will
Jackson
regress a little
Dart got
bit.
the Giants to 9 wins,
Yeah.
they would love him.
No, 100%. And I do think they will regress a little bit. I also personally think that the team was slightly overrated. I don't think the record was indicative of their
But
actual
the
quality
Vikings
of their
fans don't
team.
believe that. The
Yeah, I
Minnesota
definitely
media
get
is
it.
not going to believe that.
I still think though, if you're a Vikings fan, I still feel like you should be optimistic. Um, Again, if he comes in there and they win 5 or 6 games, then you're some trouble. You win 10 games, it's a tough division. Um, I still feel like you're okay with it because you do have to expect, right? It is going to be his first year starting. You can't, expect the same type of results. Like, I don't know, Brett Favre, his last year in Green Bay, the Packers went 13-3, went to the NFC Championship game. The Packers moved on from Brett Favre and had Aaron Rodgers, and they won, I think, 8 games the
Mhm.
following year, right? So in theory, right, it's like the same type of thing. It's a massive step down. You went to the NFC Championship game, 13-3. Now you move on from your Hall of Fame quarterback, right? That's a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's not Sam Darnold. For a guy who you've never seen before, and then you perform much worse, but over the long term, it ended up working out okay. So I would assume.
Yeah, and
Vikings
I'm not
fans would
saying
have
that
same
can't
thought.
happen, but I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised to see 13-8 again.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I
it's just
wouldn't
a
either.
lot to ask a rookie.
I think they regress back for sure. I don't even in my opinion though, if they had Sam Darnold, I still see them regressing back to like 10. But again, I get that your point too. Like the fans don't
Right,
really
but doesn't it
understand that.
suck because JJ is going to be the one that's blamed for it? Because
100.
you and I can say this objectively. I mean, you're a little more invested because you're a Packers fan, but
Yeah.
we're more objective. These Vikings fans, and Minnesota's not like New York, but the
Yep.
fans in the media aren't going to be. They're going to blame JJ.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
all right. Final thought on the NFL, and then we'll call it, and we'll come back on next Tuesday. My Najee Harris shares got nuked. We drafted Najee in almost
Yeah.
every single draft.
That's tough, man. I still think he's gonna be the main guy. I think it's a bad landing spot for
I
Hampton.
do too.
Yeah.
It
I think if
depends.
he
Longevity-wise, it's probably good.
yeah. But immediate, like I think if he would have went to the Broncos, I think it would have been like immediately a good
If he
spot.
went to the Broncos, he would have been drafted right behind Genty in every single best ball draft. Like he would have moved to like the top 20.
He would have been a good pick, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep. But
all right, Jayme, that's it for us. Glad we got to get some NFL in here too. That was cool.
Yeah.
Close. So, all right, a longer show than I expected, but hey, I don't know if I told you I had the day off because I dropped something on my foot yesterday.
Oh no.
And it was really bugging me yesterday, and you know how those injuries are. You never know until the next day, right?
Yeah.
You never know. You can always limp through it that day, and you wake up the next day, and especially like with ankles and feet, it's either swollen to the moon, and you can't walk at all, or you're like, it's not that bad. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And fortunately for me, it was number 2.
Oh no,
and,
was that black and blue?
Or? No, I'm good. I woke up.
Okay,
not that bad. So,
not that bad. I see. Okay, good.
Day off though, just in case, because that way they're prepared for it. But I'll be back at work tomorrow. But yeah, I had some extra time to talk today, and it was a great day to take off because there's been plenty of content to consume too between the NBA and the NFL. So thank you for joining us. We'll be back next Tuesday. Oh my gosh, I'm not even reading that. All right, Jeff, thank you for joining us. See you Tuesday. Nuke the house.